Welcome to episode 91 of The Lowdown Show. I'm Neil Graham. This week, my guest is John Bentham, who just this year published Bike Week, a collection of photographs taken over more than a decade at Daytona's notorious spring gathering. John and I go way back. He first went to Daytona with me in the mid-90s when I was flat tracking. He'd go back another dozen times when his career as a New York City editorial and advertising photographer allowed. It just so happened that John's attendance at Daytona began at the event's peak, and in part his chronicling charts Daytona's decline as a very peculiar cultural event. How else could you explain an event that brought tens of thousands of people and millions of dollars to a town, and yet never garnered a notice on the city's official website? After my conversation with John, stick around as ADV Writers managing editor Zach Kurlick joins me for a quick review of a jacket that saved his hide. But first, as always, a few words from those who make The Lowdown possible. The Lowdown Show is presented by advwriter.com and supported by ebaymotors.com. eBay has reinvented vehicle buying. From click to curb, everything's covered. With their new secure purchase, eBay isn't just where you find your car, it's where you buy it, start to finish. Title, financing, registration, delivery. It's all built in. And eligible vehicle purchases are backed by up to $100,000 in protection. This is what modern car buying looks like. Get your next ride on eBay. eBay, things people love. Secure Purchase is powered by Caramel Dealer Services, LLC, an eBay subsidiary. In over 50 years of connecting riders to dirt, Fox Racing has learned that the best gear always has a discernible purpose and a strong point of view. The Ranger Defend and Recon Adventure Collection takes a minimalist approach to product design, with a clear mission of providing everything you need in adventure-ready gear and absolutely nothing you don't need. Minimalist chassis, fully seam-sealed with Gore-Tex waterproofing and D30 CE level protection across the board. This gear is every bit as pure as the adventure you're chasing. I am at least partially responsible for this book. I feel that I do believe I was the one that took you to Daytona the first time. Well, we all went together. I didn't take you.
Yeah, correct. But I quite literally at the time, this was 96, I believe. I wasn't even aware of Bike Week, didn't know anything about it, and you called me up and said you were taking a road trip. Did I want to come? And it was all over after that.
You pretty much, yeah. And I mean, initially it was just a way for you to get out of the house, wasn't it? I mean, that was really the entire point of this.
Yeah, well, yes and no. I mean, at the time, I was doing a lot of celebrity portrait photography, shooting for a lot of magazines, and honestly, it started to get a little bit rote, and I wasn't really what I wanted to do. I wanted to focus more on documentary work, and this sort of sounded like, okay, so let's take a road trip, something else, an event sort of to shoot, and that, and also I was chronically underemployed, so I had the time.
Perfect. Well, in other words, you were a photographer. I know, because I was one, as of course you well know. I mean, Bike Week is a peculiar thing, but I mean, at the time, I mean, you mentioned you weren't really familiar with it. I mean, you were living in Manhattan. You were a motorcyclist, but you would rent bikes, wouldn't you? You'd rent bikes, head out of town. I mean, you desperately wanted to be a guy with a bike in the garage, but that's not easy to do in Manhattan.
That let's see. I think that came? Yeah, that came later.
Oh, was that later? So you weren't even.
I had ridden motorcycles a little bit. I think I rode like a beat up old Honda in your backyard once or something. But no, the Bike Week was 96, and then when we did that other road trip to Tennessee, was it Tennessee?
Yeah, Tennessee.
Yeah, to photograph the Boss Haas thing. That was like 98. So it was around the same time, but yeah.
That was after your first time.
So after, so the first time I went to Bike Week, obviously I was familiar with motorcycles. I would, as a kid, when I was like 15, 16, every single motorcycle, every single T-shirt I had like Triumph or something on it. It was kind of my dream, but life got in the way, and they're expensive.
And your mother, I suspect, was a bit like mine when it came to those things.
Yeah.
Which is a no-go. Well, anyway, where this has led to is this, which is a book that you published this year, 2025, called Bike Week, photographs by John Bentham, as we can see. Lovely image of somebody going in for something to drink, which is a common theme, which we will come back to in some of the other images. But so this was 2025. You started photographing there in 96. How many times did you go down? Because of course Bike Week's just a week a year in Daytona.
Yeah, it's like 10 days totally, but a lot of people just go for the week. I honestly I could figure it out, but I've lost track at the moment. It's easily 10, 12 times. It wasn't every year, just commitments or sometimes finances. But for a while there, I was going every year. For about a 5-6 year stretch, I was going every year.
Bike Week is a really sort of a flare point for a lot of motorcyclists, including these photographs. And we're going to show a few in a couple of minutes when we get there. But when I was editing a magazine, we ran a bunch of your images, and the art director, who was a longtime motorcyclist, hated them so much that he refused to do the layout. Which I believe, and he'd been with the magazine for 20 plus years. And so I had to kind of do, okay, this one goes large here. I had to do the layout and send it to him. And he reluctantly did it. And then I think he sort of grudgingly admitted that it looked okay in the end. But there's an image, I think, motorcyclists who have an image. And of course, now you're a very active motorcyclist. In fact, you ride a lot more than I do. You've got a Multistrada Ducati and a Triumph Sprint. Sprint, is that right? Yeah, and you've ridden a lot, and you're very keen, and you've done safety training days, which is actually a track day. But if you're telling someone else who maybe thinks it is not a track day, you call it a safety training day. So you've become a very keen motorcyclist, but at the time, you weren't aware of the sort of conflict that existed because some people go there for racing, and they never go down and do the Main Street thing. And but you ended up photographing sort of a lot of, I mean, what do we call, like, kind of a lot of depravity, wasn't there, in Daytona?
Yeah, it's a real mix. I think in the book I describe it. It's kind of like kind of like a weird sort of Girls Gone Wild kind of thing, but everybody's also like helping little old ladies cross the street, when necessary. And you would think all the bike, I think part of the problem is everybody assumes that everyone who attends is a biker, a 1%er, like and a lot of it is just, motorcycle hobbyists, doctors, lawyers who want, this is my big time to cut loose, leave the wife and kids at home. And so it really does. I mean, there are certainly 1%ers who attend these things, but it's a real mix. Like you say, some of the events, like you could go and do, like I photographed kids doing dirt track racing, and these little 8-year-olds and their parents there, and it's a real family event. And then other things, you go to some of the bars and it's just like mayhem, and there's no kids in there.
Yeah.
So it's a real mix of stuff.
But there's also, I mean, these are sort of regular folks, most of them, working folks. And this is the week when they get to go, and essentially it's cosplay, isn't it? I mean, you get to go.
For a lot of people, yeah.
Ride your Harley around, make a lot of noise, raise hell, and then you go back to Wisconsin and go back to your job, and that's it. So that there is that element to it. I mean, we're looking at a photograph now, which is one of my favorites, and there's a young woman whose back is to the camera, and on her shirt and on her black shirt in white letters it says, "My vibrator is a Harley." And sitting across from her in some sort of motorized wheelchair is an elderly woman. And this is sort of the bizarre dichotomy of Florida too, isn't it? That it is kind of where people, as the great singer Vic Chestnut said, it's where people go to die. And so you have this sort of retiree population, and then you get this whole Bike Week thing going on at the same time. And to me, this picture just sort of really captures that conflict, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. This is one of my favorites as well for those reasons, but also it's fun. It's like there's so much going on here. This is a classic, old kind of mom and pop family run Greek diner, where they have one of those places with a menu that's 17 pages long, and obviously it's open during Bike Week, but it's open year round. It's not like a seasonal place. Like some of the big Bike Week bars are seasonal. So you do definitely get all kinds of locals come here all the time. But when Bike Week, it's one of the larger diners. So when Bike Week comes around, you'll walk in and it's packed. There's lines out the door to get in. The woman with the T-shirt is waiting in line, as am I. And you definitely get that clash of cultures, if you will. And I remember one thing years ago when I started doing this and started looking at the idea of making a book, I tried to get some information from like the city of Daytona, like the Chamber of Commerce, and they're, most cities like of a size, they have a tourism website and stuff. And Daytona was very much pushing that down, tamping that down. They loved when the bikers came because they spent a lot of money, and they apparently tip more than tourists do. And but they didn't want it to become overwhelming. They wanted to police it in terms of keeping the numbers down and stuff. I mean, you look at when we first started going, that first year we went, I seem to recall it was like 350,000 people or 500,000, and then, but now it's dropped. Actually, sorry, it started at 500. Now it's only about 400, 350.
Yeah.
Whereas Sturgis started out at, a few hundred. Now Sturgis apparently surpassed 1 million. So the point being, I think Daytona, the town, sort of tried to play that down. It wasn't on their website. You look, there was nothing.
And really.
And it was surprised me, honestly.
Let's go to another image here. This is, of course, the one and only Evel Knievel.
Yeah.
Who's looking slightly dead in this image, I must say. Although he's technically alive, but he doesn't look very alive.
Yeah, I think in the book, the caption it states, I want to say 90. He's like 97 or something, and he died later that same year. So
he was 90. He wouldn't know.
Something like that. I've forgotten now, but he was pretty old, and he was creaking up on this stage just like he could barely walk, but he was doing it. It was impressive.
Did you have any notable exchanges with him?
Oh yeah, some of the vendors down there, they publish a little booklet. It's a little pocket-sized thing, and it's everything that's happening each day. And that just, he was doing an autograph signing near the convention center, and I thought, oh, Evel Knievel, I'll check it out. And I get down there, and as you can see in the photo, there's a line of 50+ people, and they're all lining up, waiting for an autograph or something. And he's talking away during it. And I thought, oh, great, I'll grab some pictures. So I get in there, and I'm about 6-8 feet away and snapping pictures, and he's staring at me like, what are you doing? And then finally he says, get that camera out of my face. He was like, and I'm like, whoa, sorry, and don't like the camera in my face. He was really gnarly, like you're pissed off, kind of slightly drunk grandfather, chastising you for getting close to him or something.
Yeah.
And so I backed off a little bit, maybe 15 feet, and used a longer lens, was taking a few shots. And then one of his fairly hefty big security guards comes up. These were part of his team. They weren't like the convention center security guards. They had big Evel on the back of their leather jackets and stuff. And he comes up to me, and I'm thinking he's going to run me off and say no pictures. But he said, Evel's changed his mind. He want you to take some publicity photos that we can use. I'm like, okay, great. So then, the camera in his face became less of a problem.
So you went from being an outsider to being a staff member for Evel Knievel.
Yeah, I should put that on my CV. Staff photographer.
That would be the only thing that in your CV that would really stand out to me, would be staff photographer Evel Knievel. Yeah. Evel was one of those really polarizing figures in motorcycling, because he really was. I mean, people talk about Valentino Rossi being famous, and he is in Europe, granted, but take a guy off the street, name a motorcyclist, they're going to say, I mean, at least anyone of a certain age, it's Evel Knievel. I mean, he was everywhere. There were I had the Evel Knievel wind-up gyrocycle for Christmas one year.
He was signing those.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And the great thing about Evel, there's actually a really good book out. I think it's called Life of Evel. Yeah. But the beautiful parrot, like every famous oddball person. He has there's a very strange backstory with Evel, is that while he was whacked out on, Jack Daniels and every imaginable painkiller, he was also, going around claiming, that kids should be drug free.
Yeah. Just like Elvis.
Exactly. Just like, and, and really, are they not just two sides of the coin?
Oh, yeah.
Elvis and Evel.
Yeah. President Nixon awarded Elvis an honorary Drug Enforcement Agency badge when he came to the White House.
Oh, that's just too good. eBay has reinvented vehicle buying. From click to curb, everything's covered. It's all thanks to their new secure purchase. Ever try to buy a car and end up in a parking lot with a stranger and some blind trust? Or spend half the day at a dealership talking to pushy salespeople and signing paperwork? Or maybe, worst of all, waiting for hours at the DMV just to transfer the title? Well, that era is over. For years, eBay has been the go-to for gearheads, collectors, and do-it-yourselfers, because whatever you're into, from classics to SUVs to trucks to imports, eBay's got it. And now with secure purchase, eBay isn't just where you find your next ride, it's where you can buy it, start to finish. Sellers and titles are verified, paperwork is handled by experts, and payments are traceable and digital. So you know exactly who you're dealing with and exactly what you're getting. Plus, you can finance, insure, and register your vehicle all in one place. No more hours at the dealership, no more trips to the DMV. Get your vehicle plates and paperwork shipped to your door, ready to drive. And it's all part of one seamless process, designed to feel as easy as buying anything else online. And eligible vehicles purchased on eBay are backed by up to $100,000 in purchase protection. Thinking about selling your ride? Secure Purchase makes that simple too, because you know your buyer and their funds are verified. If you still own your car, the financing payoff is fully integrated, so you're not chasing paperwork or waiting on checks to clear. And with Secure Purchase, you get paid fast, and you're not going to be stuck chasing no-shows or answering the fifth, "Is it still available?" message. This is what modern car buying looks like. Skip the DMV, skip the sketchy meetups, buy it on eBay. eBay, things people love. Secure Purchase is powered by Caramel Dealer Services, LLC, an eBay subsidiary. In over 50 years of connecting riders to dirt, Fox Racing has learned that the best gear always has a discernible purpose and a strong point of view. The Ranger Defend and Recon Adventure Collection takes a minimalist approach to product design, with a clear mission of providing everything you need in adventure-ready gear and absolutely nothing you don't need. Minimalist chassis, fully seam sealed with Gore-Tex waterproofing and D30 CE level protection across the board. This gear is every bit as pure as the adventure you're chasing. John, you talked about the Daytona Beach Chamber of Commerce not really wanting to identify themselves with Bike Week, and I think this image would be a particular example that they would point to and say, "This is why."
Yeah, this is why. Yeah.
And so just the images of a man who's lacking a lot of teeth, giving a big grin towards the camera, and there's smoke, and it's at some sort of like half-mile paved flat track or car race.
Yeah, it's
and there's bikes lying on their side in the background.
On the ground. Yeah, there's a lot going on here.
Yeah. So tell me what's going on in this image.
This is at a track, one of the lesser tracks outside the city proper, and I've been to it 3 years. I think I went to this particular event, and it's kind of like a thrill ride show. I mean, they have guys doing trick riding. They got big ramp set up. Guys are doing serious aerials. They're way up there. I mean, I was kind of impressed. One guy in particular. And then the highlights of the show, they had a guy who had like a 1970s limousine that he'd reinforced with rebar and all this, and they parked an RV on the track, and the guy in the limo just booted around the track, got up some speed, hit the ramp, and right into the back of the RV. This is the kind of show we're talking about.
Yeah.
But this photo was, I tell people this and they're like, "Wait, what?" This is after a motorcycle demolition derby. Everybody knows what a demo derby is, but have you ever seen one with motorcycles?
I never have. I've seen a lot of weird bike stuff in my life, but never this.
Yeah.
So was this the winner, or was this just some guy that survived?
This guy was the runner-up. He was second place, and the way it works, they would quite literally, guy with a microphone, all right, anybody who wants to participate. And I think they had, I don't want to guess, maybe 15, 18 bikes or something. And people were running out of the stands to get in this. They gave them helmets and the bikes were provided. They're just these old beaters that barely ran, but they got them started for this. And maybe the whole thing was like 20 minutes, 15, 18 minutes or something. And the whole trick was you bash into the bike, don't hit the rider. But of course they're moving, trajectory, whatever. Yeah. This particular guy, he'd broken his ankle, and that put him out. And then the guy who hit him, I guess, won first place. And he was posing for some pictures before he headed off to the hospital to get his leg set.
From the ridiculous to the sublime, and this is a wonderful image of a guy in a barrel riding the wall of death. Wow. And this is the part where you fold a dollar bill or whatever bill, dollar bill, how old am I? You fold a bill lengthwise, hold it out, hold it still, and the guy rides around on a bike, and he's just about to snatch some bills out of some people. And as ridiculous as the Demolition Derby is, I'm a sucker for the wall of death every time. It is so cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been around since what? I can't even remember, the 20s,
100, at least 100 years. Yeah, it's 100 years of that.
And I saw a website recently where they were showcasing a wall of death in India. There's one in, I think, Scotland that these two brothers built just so they could play around on it in their backyard. And it's a hoot. If you've never seen it and you're at some event or a bike rally and there's one, definitely go. It's only, I don't know, it was $5 admission last time I was there, and it is so much fun.
It is so much fun.
Yeah.
I did a story on one for a magazine once, the Wall of Death, and I think they were from Massachusetts, and I believe they were down in Florida one of the years I was there. And so they're just about to do their thing, and I'm just about to head up top, which is where you took this photograph from the viewing platform. And there's a woman, one of the riders, she said, "Oh, come on in the barrel." So there's this sort of medieval thing that opens the barrel. It's like going into a giant whiskey barrel. Yeah. And she said, you might want to stay near the middle because there's a central pole that holds up the tent, the awning over top. And so I just stood at the thing, and then they whizzed around me, and it just what was really struck me with the looks on people's faces, like, what the hell are you doing? But it's really incredible. And she was telling me that, I said, what's up? What was it like to ride the wall? And she was saying that you don't know where she said the hardest thing was knowing where you are, because the first time she did it, she nearly basically screwed herself straight up out of the top.
Yep.
Like a screw thread. And you have to look so far around, and of course they do it, and they don't wear helmets, and because that it doesn't seem part of the show. And yeah, I mean, if you went down, man, it would be gruesome. And you start on the go-karts because they have go-karts, and then you eventually graduate to a motorcycle. But what's kind of cool, and this is for the technical nerds out there, and I know there are a few, there are no modifications to running sideways because, of course, centrifugal force, even though the motorcycles are old and it's just gravity feed to the carburetor, everything is fine when you're on the wall. Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. I've gotten into the barrel a couple of times as well, and you're zipping the camera around. They're going pretty fast. I think they hit like 35, 40 miles an hour, and the space is only what is it, 40 feet across?
It's not very big. It's not very big. I don't even think it'd be that. I might be half that. It's surprisingly, well, I don't know, maybe it is. It's surprisingly compact, isn't it?
Yeah, like you would. It just. Every time they're zipping around, you're like, oh, he's here again. You just end up photographing it. You just end up having to use burst shooting, or you get nothing because they're going by so quick. And
the barrel flexes, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, everything. The tent's wobbling and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, it's so. Okay, now I get the hankering to go back and see one again. It is very cool. Let's pull up another image here. Choppers and tattoo shops. Gosh, right. Who'd have thunk it? So you were talking to John. You talked about how Daytona had changed over the years. And of course, it was hugely popular when the baby boomers were in full stride. Harley was selling 300,000 bikes a year. Motorcycling had now become more socially acceptable than it had been 20 years prior. And then, did you see it decline? I mean, because you went so many times, did you see the progression of the event sort of lose a bit of steam?
Yeah, the last year that I was there, and it was sort of just before COVID hit, so call it 2019, I think. Um, by that point, Sturgis was really starting to grow, and I don't remember the official number in 2019, but I remember it was less than when I had first started. It was still packed. I mean, Daytona is kind of a spread out place, but you throw 400,000 or 500,000 people in there, and it's still humming. But there was I used to go down with a friend of mine. He's a photographer in New Jersey, and he had a sister-in-law that lived down there, and she'd like let us stay at her place, and we said we actually drove down a number of times.
Right.
And there was one year, one of the big great bars there is the Iron Horse, and they had on top of the roof of the actual bar proper, they had inflatable beer bottles, like the ads or whatever, and it was Bud Light thing, and they're all hung with guy wires so they don't blow off, and it's typical very bike week stuff, but you'd see that through the progression. But no joke, the last year I was there, those beer bottles were replaced by Bear aspirin bottles and Motrin bottle blow-ups, So you used to see every guy, biker or otherwise, would be walking around in boots and leather and whatever. And that same year, when it was Motrin bottles, I'm seeing all kinds of guys walking around. They're wearing sneakers and shorts, and like literally, I'm having trouble getting a picture that doesn't have sneakers and shorts in it. Trying to get some other grittier image. So it really did change. The hardcore guys were aging out, and it did change a bit. Yeah.
Well, I guess when the pharmaceutical companies come in,
it's all over.
Yeah, they know their market, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah, there'd be bars we'd go to, and we'd be dragging ourselves out of there at 3 a.m, tired, exhausted, and the party was still going.
Yeah.
That last year, I remember being there at like 12:30 at night, and the place was emptying out. We were closing it at 12:30. It really did change over time.
Speaking of bars, we're looking at an image now of a woman standing in a bar waving a very large American flag. Somebody in the lower left corner of the image is toasting her with a beer can. She is in a bathing suit, I must say. Looks like a bikini to me. I mean, I guess this was sort of what you talk about. There was lots of patriotic fervor at the time, wasn't there?
Oh yeah. There's so much of that, like a lot of American flag crests, a lot of American flags hanging from the back of bikes, and you see a lot of that in many places. Flying out the back of trucks and whatever. But obviously, Bike Week, it's all bike related.
Yeah.
This is a bar on Main Street, one of the original bars. Bike Week started down on Main Street and then expanded. Now it goes on for miles and miles, and some of the events take place in Orlando and really spread out. But this was one of the original places called Froggy's, and at the time when I shot this, they may still be doing it, but every night at midnight, they'd play a particular song. I can't remember what it was. It wasn't the national anthem, but it was something patriotic-ish. And the dolled up bartenders would jump on there and wave the flags and get everybody all hyped up. It was like a nightly 4th of July kind of reaffirm your patriotism event. It was fun. It was cool.
Let's go back to your book. What was the process in putting it together? I mean, you must have had so many photographs.
Yeah.
I mean, over such a long time too. I mean, how did you, in many ways, this is sort of one of your big life's work.
Yeah. In some respects, you could definitely look at it that way. It was each time I went down, I talk about it in the book. I started out doing this, shooting it in black and white. And quite honestly, I started doing that just because it was, I was broke and it was cheaper. I had a darkroom in my basement and I could process the film and everything. And then did that for a number of years and then switched to digital cameras and started shooting it in color.
It took you so long to do. You covered this wide range of technological development, transition from film to digital. Yeah.
But each time I'd go, when I was shooting film, I'd shoot 150, 200 rolls of film, 36 exposure. I can't do the math, but it's a chunk. And then when I started shooting digital, I'd be shooting 5,000 pictures throughout the week. And so, times, I don't know how many, a dozen plus times. Again, I can't do the math, but that's a lot of photos to go through. And it just, honestly, editing was tough because you got so much material. It's like, which this one's better than this one? Is it, it's kind of, and, my wife, she produces a lot of books. She's a director of an art gallery, and she was quite helpful in the editing. And when we're going through, she's like, "Ooh, yeah, that photo's got to go." Right. This is a little bit toned down version, to be honest with you. But the whole.
So there is a director's cut version too.
There is
coming. Yeah.
That's in a slideshow, actually.
Right.
But years ago, I started shopping this around to publishers. I was living in New York City, and it's kind of the heart of the publishing industry in America. And I knew a lot of publishers. I'd done a lot of work for, some of my photos have been used for covers of books and things like that. And I started shopping it around. Like, I made up pasted up a book dummy, and I took it out to, I don't know, I've lost track, but I literally have a stack of rejection letters, like an inch thick in my file. Yeah. That they're like, "Oh yeah, I really love the photos, but yeah, we can't print this." Or, the two things they were worried about, it was the raunchier kind of images, or they would all claim that, yeah, we never make money on books like this. And of course, publishing's a business. So it took a long, long time before I could finally get it all together. And then the process of actually making it, doing the editing, layout, all that, you're familiar with that. That just took forever. 6 months.
It does take forever. What was the sensation when you finally, when the books arrived and you had one in your hand? I mean, what was that process? Was it kind of a thrill? Was it a letdown? Sometimes it's not always predictable how we'll respond at the conclusion of something. I know when I finish a film, sometimes it's like, wow, it took 4 years and it's gone by in 72 minutes. And what was your response like?
Interesting question, because I published a couple other books before, and for me, it was a very similar kind of thing. With each book, like you say, you get the thing in your hand, and it's like, oh man, it's like a real book. Wait, it is a real book. And then you flip through it and you're thrilled. And then a month later, you pull one out and say, oh, why did I put that picture in there? Yeah, I guess it's okay. And so there's definitely an up down kind of thing. It's do you remember way back in the 80s, what was it? Live Aid, Bob Geldof did that whole concert, and then they televised it. It made gazillions of dollars for Ethiopia. And he was instrumental. It was his idea, it was his brainchild. He made it happen. And, he got knighted for it and all this other stuff. But he subsequently, maybe a year or two later, came out with a book talking about that experience. And literally the title of the book is that it? ? And he talks about, how you throw everything into this project and it gets done and then it's over and you're like, now what? Or wait, that wasn't really, well, I guess it worked out. But so there's definitely I'm nowhere near comparing myself to his project, but it's like you have this in your hand and you're so excited. And, it's I think I first had this published in January. So we're coming up on a year later almost. And it was, now I look at it and think, yeah, it looks pretty good. I'm glad I'm done. I'm glad this is finally in book form. but it's also kind of like, yeah, bittersweet, a little disappointment. I considered going back to Bike Week one more time, but I sort of felt like, well, what am I going to get that's different? More Bayer aspirin bottles, and it's sort of I tend to work on projects that way. I've photographed like roller derby skaters, and I'll throw myself into it, work on it for months and months or years and years, and then after a certain point, I'm like, yeah, I've covered it. Move on.
Just to note that the book that we're talking about, Bike Week, is available at bikeweekbook.com. That's bikeweekbook.com. It's beautifully printed. It's thick. And the images are spectacular. It's an amazing piece. And John might even make you a print if you asked him, if there was a particular image you loved. There's a lot of great stuff here, and it shows part of Bike Week that we don't often get to see as well. There's some beautifully dark cinematic images. So bikeweekbook.com. The Lowdown Show is presented by advrider.com and supported by ebaymotors.com. Zach, this is all very exciting. This is the first product review on the podcast. And we're starting off with a bang. Well, a crash and a bang, I guess is the better way to put it. You're going to tell me about a jacket, and I'm going to pull the image up of the jacket right there. Now, what is the significance to you of this jacket? First of all, what is it?
That is an Aerostitch Falstaff competition. Falstaff, of course, being a bit of a pun on the old classic Brit bike jacket brand Belstaff. Falstaff being the jolly rotund character from some Shakespeare play, and I can't remember which. But all very British in its origins. This
is, I guess, what passes for northern Minnesota humor. Is that right? Is it what Andy Goldfine does in his dark days during the winter, which is right now?
Yeah, he's Endless Summer by the Beach Boys in Duluth. I think they're in their Endless Winter phase right now.
And I think it's probably, and the music that accompanies that is what, death metal, or just maybe just death itself. I don't know. So, but what's
it's not the Beach Boys.
It's not the Beachmen. No, it's not. So what is the significance of this jacket? How long did you have it? Now, this is kind of interesting. How long did you have this jacket before you had an incident?
This is the shortest, I think, that I've used any jacket that I've tested, because I had it for about 2 weeks before I was involved in a pretty serious crash, which was unpleasant, but it was a great way to see how well the jacket would hold up in the circumstances it was designed for.
So in other words, if management is listening, and I'm sure they're not, but were management listening, this was product testing at its finest.
Yeah, I like to take things to the next level. I'm a pretty extreme guy. So
you're a next level kind of guy. So what? This is the motorcycle accident you had. Last time we were on the podcast. When you joined me, a guest, we talked about it. And joking aside, it was a very serious accident. And you ultimately got cut out of this garment, so this garment is no more. But how? If you can give us a bit of the sense of where you landed and how the abrasion resistance held up.
Well, this has always been the big question about Aerostitch's wax cotton gear, because the question is, does wax cotton hold up as well as Cordura or the other synthetic materials in a crash against road rash? At the bottom of the jacket's write-up on their website, it says, the abrasion resistance of wax cotton when compared to Darien's 500 denier Cordura is better than you'd think. So this is the question I always had. Is the road rash resistance actually up to standards? And unfortunately, I did get a chance to test that. And I can say that the competition Falstaff, which is this version, which uses 10.10 ounce wax cotton, heavy duty stuff, it held up great. There was no road rash anywhere on my upper body. This jacket did an excellent job of protecting me from that. And I landed on my left side, and I was surprisingly in good shape. I was barely even bruised. I had a broken arm, a dislocated shoulder, But any place that there was padding on that side of the jacket was protected. I didn't damage my elbow. I didn't break any bones in my shoulder. I did break it just below where there's no padding, but unless you plan to ride around in the Michelin Man suit, you're going to leave parts of your body without padding on them. Most motorcycle gear is built like that. And where this gear had padding, I was protected.
And so where is the armor on the jacket?
It's got armor in the shoulders, elbows, and back. In my case, my jacket's armor is now all over the place because the paramedics took a pair of shears and cut me out of the jacket, ruining it, unfortunately. But it did its job.
Now, this is not an inexpensive piece of kit, is it? I was just looking at the Aerostitch website, and it's $1,047 US. Now, do you think? I mean, obviously, it worked out for you, but it's an expensive garment. Do you think it stacks up well against other garments of comparable price?
I think most garments of comparable price are made for people who are road racing or riding doing high performance riding. This jacket is more made for average guys like me who want something to protect them while they travel, commute, and so on. And that's what I really liked about it in the few days that I did get to enjoy it before I was so rudely interrupted. Pockets are very well thought out. When it's new, it's certainly very rain resistant. I think over time, you have to reapply the waterproof coating to the waxed cotton. But the flip side of that is that you can do so. It's not like buying a jacket with Gore-Tex lining that the Gore-Tex wears apart and then your waterproofing's gone. You could theoretically ride with this jacket for many, many, many years, unless somebody runs you over. Then that tends to interrupt its usefulness.
It ruins all the fun. It's true. Now, just a sort of a final question that I was thinking, which is that how does the garment feel? Because I know that wax cotton can sometimes feel very soft, and although I've seen other wax cotton garments that were quite stiff, where does this rank on the softness to stiffness scale?
I don't think it's remarkably soft or stiff. I think, especially over time, as you wear it, it'll get more and more broken in. Certainly not the same as a leather jacket. You know how leather jacket gets that buttery smooth feeling over time. But based on experiences with previous Aerostitch wax cotton jackets, I think that this would have been a very comfortable jacket to wear over the long term. Unfortunately, oncoming motorist changed that plan.
All right. Remind us of the name of the garment and where we can find out more information about it.
It's the Aerostitch Falstaff, and this is the competition version made of heavier duty material, and you can find it at aerostitch.com.
eBay has reinvented vehicle buying. From click to curb, everything's covered. Ever try to buy a car online and end up in a parking lot with a stranger and some blind trust? Well, that era is over. Now, with Secure Purchase, eBay isn't just where you find your car, it's where you buy it, start to finish. Title, financing, registration, delivery. It's all built in. This is the modern way to buy your next ride on eBay. eBay, things people love. Secure Purchase is powered by Caramel Dealer Services, LLC, an eBay subsidiary. Thank you for listening to The Lowdown Show.